Hello.
Hello. Let's see.
Anybody there?
Checking to see now if it's. I think it went
Fingers
live.
crossed. Sometimes
Okay.
we get kicked out.
I know, and then sometimes our comments don't show up. Okay, I think we're good to go now.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay.
Good evening.
Oh.
Hi. What do you
I didn't grab the first 6 weeks of school book.
Oh.
That we're going to give away. We are going to talk about using guided discovery at the beginning of the school year. And the responsive classroom. We can't find the book now, but we got it out the other day. And who knows, is it on the couch over there?
Oh, I think it's right here.
Okay. Okay, so every time we're like, we're going to start this one smooth. We're not going to be awkward. We do things like that.
Can live a dream.
We try. Okay, so we're going to talk about guided discovery and using that at the beginning of the school year. And the Responsive Classroom has given us 3 copies of the book, The First 6 Weeks of School, which is where Heidi learned about using guided discovery. And we are going to give away 3 copies of this book.
It's an excellent book. It's one of the few that every year of teaching, I would always go back to.
Yeah.
Because there was just always something I could draw from that.
Right. So all you have to do to win a copy of The First 6 Weeks of School is comment on this post. And you can enter 2 times by tagging a friend in the second post. A teacher friend, please. Okay, so let's talk about the guided discovery of school tools.
This is actually one of my very favorite parts of back to school.
Heidi's a nerd. She
this.
loves teaching procedures and routines and all of that. But the thing is, if you do it right, it makes a big difference.
Pays off so
it really
much.
does. So what is guided discovery? Guided discovery is a focused, purposeful, but playful technique that teachers can use to introduce materials, areas, or activities to students. Pretty straightforward, right? It's a fun way to introduce your procedures, but a meaningful way. And you can have a few different objectives of why you would want to use guided discovery. You might want to use it to excite and motivate children by exploring possibilities.
Or to stretch individual students toward involvement in new areas of learning.
You can use it to guide and deepen the understanding of materials and activities.
To encourage the sharing of ideas among children for how a material or area might be used. And that's, I think, one of the most beneficial aspects of it.
Or you might use it to establish a common language and vocabulary among your students, which is a really valuable tool to do at the beginning of the school year. Get everybody on the same page and also build that community in your joyful classroom, that kind of thing.
To teach or reinforce guidelines for working cooperatively, so important.
So, let Heidi tell you about how she used to introduce school materials.
So, it used to be like, okay, everyone, here's where your crayons are kept, here's a paper, go to work. First day of school or whatever, give them something to color. And teacher would have 5 minutes to sit down. So, that's kind of how I used to do it. That I just figured they've been in school before, they understand crayons, they know what to do with the crayon. But after reading this book, I realized that I was really cutting corners there.
It's a missed opportunity.
Yes, I could have done a lot better for both my students and myself to make this a much more meaningful time.
Right.
So now I would take crayons and we would talk about them. What are they? How do we use them? Where are they kept? And I would establish classroom guidelines about crayons right then and give them a practice. And then we come back and discuss their experiences with that practice.
Right. And is all of that work worth it? All that time spent at the beginning of the year?
So, I mean, it is a lot. It's basically a full-on lesson for every routine every material you have to introduce. But, so you can speed through it and just get on to your academic content.
And we can see the draw on wanting to do that, right? You're dying to, jump into that math unit.
Because you're already feeling testing and raining down your neck.
Right.
But, imagine now it's October and your kids are supposed to be coloring pumpkins or something. And Sally needs an orange crayon and she doesn't have one, doesn't know where to get one, so she spends some time wandering. And she eventually comes to find you and ask you about it, so you help her get situated. And then, Tommy finds a broken or a random brown crayon on the ground. So then he has to come find you and ask you what to do with it.
I found this crayon.
Yes,
what am I supposed to do with it?
And then after school, kids have left and you find a pile of green wrapper, that stupid crayon paper. all over the floor underneath David's desk or whatever. So you make a note that tomorrow you're going to talk to David about what to do about crayon papers so the custodian doesn't get mad at you. So, you've now helped 3 children know what to do about crayons. And as the year goes on, you'll get to help the 25 others do that
Multiple times.
But that's not good use of your time. It's not good use of your students' time when you could have eliminated most of those problems just from the get-go by taking a few minutes early on and setting up your expectations with guided discovery.
Right. Fred Jones in Tools for Teaching has this quote, and we post it all the time because it's like our favorite quote.
Such a good quote.
The teachers with the best run classrooms spend most of the first 2 weeks teaching procedures and routines. Do it right or do it all year long. And we can speak from experience because we've made this mistake of not doing it right. So we can tell you it's worth it, and we can tell you don't do what we've done.
So in the book, the first 6 weeks of school, they outline 6 steps in a guided discovery lesson. I tweaked those a little bit for what worked in my classroom. So there are these 6 steps here.
So we're going to share today the 6 steps that worked the best for Heidi. So
they're pretty similar to the book, but
right. So yeah, we'll just go through them as we go. So first one's introducing.
So you can make this as elaborate or as simple as you want. You could, put, if you're going to talk about glue or whatever, you could take a glue bottle and put it in a box, have them reach in and feel it and try and guess what it is. Or you can,
which they would love, I'm sure.
Or play 20 questions and have them try and guess what you're going to talk about. Or you can just hold up the glue and be like, this is glue.
Right.
There's really no wrong way to do it.
Right. And in our resource that we have for this, if you want more resources, we give you some different ideas. So that we give you a list of books about different supplies, school supplies that you could use as an introduction, and different activities you could do, like giving clues, doing anagrams,
charades.
Hot and cold, those kind of things to introduce it. So again, it can be as simple or as elaborate as you want it to be. And maybe it will depend on what you're introducing.
Yeah, that's true. Because the stuff that you're going to use all the time, your crayons, your scissors, your glue, you're going to want to make it maybe a little more elaborate so it really sticks in their heads, but something that they're not going to use very often, maybe highlighters or calculators, they don't warrant that time investment.
Right. And then the next step is establishing use.
So I like to use charts. We have this product that we'll talk a little bit more about, but they for the different classroom tools, we have a little chart. So at first, you can have the kids brainstorm what you use these things for. And scissors is a good example because they'll start to come up with like, we cut shoes. We don't cut shoes. We don't cut hair.
They'll get really specific.
Yeah. So this is a good chance for you to just kind of redirect and say, what do we use them for? We only cut paper. So
and that's what you establish on the paper.
And so anytime it was like, we don't cut books or whatever, you can say, what do we cut? We cut paper. And it's already on here.
Right.
Kind of redirects that because otherwise they just get in a competition trying to come up with
all the millions of things that you don't want to cut.
And then you can talk about how to take care of them. If you have a specific procedure you want them to follow, this would be a good time to talk about that. Teach them the steps of that. So that's you're generating your standards. And these little charts are nice because they're on paper. So you can, paper sizing. You could make a big
yes, we have chart materials if you want to do the chart paper route. But if you want to be able to reference it, sometimes it's easier to be on a smaller
so you can
paper.
Just save these at the end or after the discussion, and then later on, if someone's having a hard time with one of those materials, you can be like, okay, let's revisit this chart.
Right.
And it's already done.
And in the how to take care of them, the generating standards, would that be things like holding your scissors in your hand when you walk? And
so anything you want them to do specifically, like, if for crayons, like here's where extra crayons go, here's what to do if you need to peel off the paper for your crayon, here's what to do if your crayon breaks, here's where we keep them, here's, anything that you want the kids to do.
Right. Okay. And then next, you're going to get into exploring and observing.
And again, really this could be you can use anything you want.
Which is, when you first started doing this, you didn't have special activities for each one. You would pull out a coloring page to do the coloring.
I used a coloring book, and I copied pages out of a coloring book. And it works just fine. But as I was reflecting on this experience, I wanted something where the kids could have some journaling so that they were getting it more in their heads about the rules and expectations for material. So we have, if you can see on the page there, the kids can write about where to get them, when to get them, and how to use them. And then there's a little activity at the bottom to use specifically.
Right.
And while the kids are working, you're walking around. This is so important. And I didn't appreciate this for a long time. I liked that. Just give me 5 minutes to.
Right.
I'm not adjusted back to school yet, guys. But you really have to be there, be present, be aware of what's going on, so you can nip those little problems in the bud before they become big problems.
Right. Especially when they're making their little glue dots on the strawberry seeds. You want to make sure they're really getting that tiny dot idea while they're doing that. Yeah. And if you do use our resource for this, we have 2 versions of a lot of these. So a more simplified version. In fact, I might have 2 right here where I can kind of show you a more simple one and maybe I don't actually. Well, here's 2 different ones.
Yeah, that's not simple.
That's not a good one. Where's the simplified ones? Maybe I didn't print the simplified ones. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we've got, here, you show this one.
So it's got, I can't see.
It's math tools.
So you can see, instead of the big space, all the different journaling questions, they're just kind of one question about how to use it and a little activity for them to do.
Right.
As opposed to
this one that's a little more
in
depth, and they do the writing at the top about what they do with it. And this one just sort of tells them, I will use math tools the right way, or specifically whatever the tool is. So this is not just specifically for 2nd grade. You can use this with a variety of grade levels. And you should use guided discovery with
regardless of the grade.
Yes. And then we've got reflection and sharing.
So after the kids have finished the activity or they're starting to finish up, it's important to give a chance to kind of explain how things went, evaluate how well they followed directions. You can have everyone come back and have an opportunity to share. Sometimes that gets a little tedious, but if you teach the little ones, everyone will want a chance to talk. But you can have them talk to a partner. You can have 1 or 2 share with the whole class. Again, it's really flexible depending on the needs that you have to do. But it's important for them to evaluate how well they followed the steps, so you can identify any places where more work might be needed.
Right, if they're not totally clear on what they're supposed to be doing. So then, the last thing is caring for the materials.
So if the kids haven't put them away at this point, you would walk them through the steps of putting it away, and you would add that information to your chart. As the year goes on, you will find that some children don't remember or choose not to remember the steps that you have in place. So we have these little kind of self-evaluations about what went wrong and what to do better next time.
And this one in the picture is the most simplified version of this. There's 2 other levels of more advanced reflection sort of a thing. And if it's a big deal, we also have one where you could have a signature if you wanted to go home. I mean, I can't think of a lot of scenarios where that would be necessary, but if somebody cut somebody's hair, maybe yes, you're going to send home that one home for mom and dad to know what happened. Okay. Anything more on that one? Okay. So if school's already started for you, don't panic. It's not too late to start this.
No, really, you can think of the 4 or 5 most important tools in your class. Probably pencils will be definitely on that list. Crayons,
scissors, glue.
And carve out 15 minutes a day for the next week and just focus on one of those tools every day for a week. And by the end of the week, your class will be running at a different level.
Right. It's worth the time to pause wherever you are in the school year. Or if you're watching this much later into the school year than when we're recording it, it will make a difference. Just pause now, redirect, and you'll be able to reap those benefits.
And the kids really appreciate knowing the boundaries, knowing what's expected. There's not any guesswork. It helps make them feel more secure in what's going on in school.
Right. And we talked about that in our first day of school video, and we talked about guided discovery a lot in that video too. It's the same idea of when they know what to expect, and that you're these, as he called them, characterizations of teachers, which is that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And what was the other one?
We'll keep doing it until we do it right.
Right. That they're going to test you a lot less when they understand those boundaries in the classroom and who you are as a teacher. But you don't need anything special to introduce your classroom tools using guided discovery. When Heidi first started doing this, she just used a coloring page, a maze for the pencil introduction. It doesn't need to be anything specific.
It can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it.
Right. But if you are looking for some resources already made for, I think, about 20 different school tools, we have that available for you. So here's an example of our guided discovery of school tools materials. So we give you a few sample lesson plans for some of the
tools.
Right.
I think there's 3 different
types of tools. We didn't do one for every one because it's really going to depend on your class and how you want to introduce this, how you want them used in your class. So it didn't really make sense for us to write the lesson plan for you, but we have editable versions of the lesson plans.
And lots of different examples in the teacher guide.
We have a really thorough
pages
teacher guide here, as usual. Once we start writing,
we can't stop.
No.
So there's about 30 pages.
Yeah, there's lots of
the
pages
teacher
in there to help
information.
You with that. And then we have charts that you can use in color and black and white for all of those different tools. And we also have all the pieces if you wanted to make a big chart paper to do this. So we have the title.
The pieces. It looks like the smaller one, but it's big enough that it will fill a chart paper.
And then you leave the spaces and write right there on the chart paper. And you can hang it up till if you need to or whatever. I still think the smaller ones are way less work and easier to store for when you need to reference them. It'd be hard to store all those big chart papers, but if you want to do it that way, more power to you.
And really, if you made like a little 3-ring binder, you could get one of those 1/2-inch binders. You can keep all your charts in there and then keep your behaviors little slips for later in the year if you need to. So you can just pull those out and have the kids reference the chart right there.
You have a routine for when you run into an issue. You know where all the materials are ready to go for them to go and evaluate what happened. And then we've got the
student practice.
Right. And there's multiple levels for a lot of them, just sort of depending. This one's, I think this simplified version, the very simplest version of the Staples one, and I know we have a different one. So they kind of practice cutting out the pages and it shows them where to staple it. But we have lots of other different pages, which I can exit out of here and actually show you. Let's give it, where are we? Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, so I can show you a few of the other, it's a really big stack. So I'm not going to show all of them to you, but I'll kind of go through and show a few of the different...
We really tried to think through the tools that are most common in a class. I think that's for
This one's for dice, and we have ones that say number
cubes.
In case you are one of the schools that says things that way. So it has something that they're going to do with that material down
and
at the bottom.
I think maybe a version for 1 die and one for 2.
I think there is.
Age of your kids, yeah.
Right. And then, let's see, we already showed the glue one. But here's the simplified version of the glue one. So if you're doing kindergarten or first grade, you might want to do these more simplified pages where they can draw a picture of themselves using the glue the right way and then very carefully use the glue on the ladybugs there.
And we don't have simplified versions for all of them. Just
sort of depended because we also thought there were certain tools that a more advanced class might use that you probably wouldn't use in the lower classes. But for example, here's a more advanced marker page with that really fun.
I love those abstract
design down there. I'm not sure if I have the simplified one handy though. Oh, I do. Here it is. So this is just the more simplified. So you can decide which is best for your class. And we have in the post, there's a link for a free download, and it's all the materials for introducing pencils. So I figured everyone's going to need to introduce those. So it will have it has a lesson plan, actually has the whole lesson plan written out. And the chart and the student paper, and I also included one of the different behavior action plans if you need those. So if you go for the whole product, we've got a very comprehensive teacher's guide and all of that and all the other different materials. But I figured good one to help you on the first day of school, even if you aren't interested in tackling all these other ones.
Because you have to introduce pencils either way. So
right?
Might as well get them.
Have a filler for the first day of school for sure right there. So anyways, let us know if you have any questions. You can leave them in the comments and we'll come back and visit them later. My face is like glowing from the window. I'm sorry.
It doesn't look that bright.
I know, the sun's about to go down, but whoo. There we go. And don't forget, we are giving away 3 copies of the first 6 weeks of school.
Yay!
From Responsive Classroom.
I do love it. You can see
Look
all
at all
my
those little
post-it
tabs.
notes,
Yes.
and it's all highlighted. And
Responsive Classroom has been so good to us, and they asked how they could help us celebrate teachers for back to school, and we said, well, let's give away a few of our favorite books. And this one was the top of the list. So we have 3 of these books to give away, and all you need to do to win one is comment on this post, and you can enter a second time by tagging a teacher friend specifically, please. So everything else you need is in the links in the post, and if you have any questions, leave them here. We'll come back tonight and visit them. And I think I'll draw the winner for this. What day is it? Monday? Maybe Thursday? I'll edit the post and say what time specifically. But let's give you a couple days to watch this video and enter to win. So we're going to be back again later this week to give some more books away on another topic from Responsive Classroom that we love. So have a great day. Have a great
evening.
Getting ready for back to school. We're feeling your pain. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.